Hello and welcome to Is There Something in This, the podcast where me, Scott Dooley, and he, Jason Chatfield, come together and do our weekly writers' meeting to come up with the jokes and cartoons that we're going to be pitching to the New Yorker this week. Last week, is there any evidence we've actually pitched anything in the last 2 weeks?
I don't think so. I don't think there's a paper trail at
no
all.
Receipts.
No, it's actually really strange.
It's a witch hunt. I'm saying it's a witch hunt.
Witch hunt. Yeah, it is tough because one of the things about pitching to the New Yorker, which as you may well know is the hardest magazine to get published in the world.
Yeah.
Because of how competitive it is and how many people pitch every single week. It is tough to just get a foot in the door. And you and I have been very lucky that we've been in so often.
Yeah.
Which gave us a false sense of security, I think.
That's right.
Confidence.
Yeah.
So it has been a particularly tricky time lately to get stuff in. So, yeah. But anyway, we did pitch a bunch, and I was really hoping we'd get something up, but nothing got up.
No.
All the ones that we spoke about on last week's episode were in. Particularly your, do you ever think you're nothing more than just an analogy? With the tortoise and the hare?
Yeah.
That didn't get a look in.
No.
No.
I kind of. What was the one we had? You had one which
Prolific was another one. I prefer Prolific.
Yeah.
That one didn't get a look in.
Didn't get a look in.
And also, he thinks he's so good since his case became a podcast. The Detective.
Oh, yeah.
That didn't get a look in either.
No.
Well, back to the old drawing board.
I got a great email from a buddy of mine, Richie Cook, who's a great journalist. And,
right.
I invited him to my wedding, and for the wedding, because we've got people dotted all around, it's easy.
Yeah.
You just do a website. This is what people do now.
I got the invite.
Website. You got invited, and you get a website.
Yeah.
And so on the website, we had to come up with pictures. This was a big deal. None of the pictures were right, and it was the whole thing. So we found these 2 photos of us that we liked.
Great.
And Richie wrote, hey, I just got the thing. Website looks good.
Yep.
To quote the president, you look beautiful and classy.
Brilliant. I love it. Good on you, Richie.
Should we do?
We can dive in if you want.
I thought I saw Action Bronson.
Oh, I was going to ask.
No, I
didn't.
didn't.
I know that you've got this pareidolia.
Yeah.
Did you see him? You didn't see him?
No, I didn't. I saw a fat bloke. But here's the thing. This is what I've realised in this area. There's a lot of fat blokes with
Action Bronson style sort of
fashion
sense.
Yeah, fashion sense.
Yeah, just walking around your neighborhood.
And I don't think it's Action Bronson style. I just think it's comfortable clothes for the husky gentleman.
Did you even see him in the first place?
No, I definitely saw him the first time.
Are you sure?
Definitely. No, I've got a confirmation from Usher.
All right.
Yeah. No. We've got confirmation.
It's going to be like a Fight Club thing where you are Action Bronson. Split personality. Yeah. Scott Dooley / Action Bronson.
Yeah.
I must admit, I had a moment. Scott and I were walking down Avenue B. We were walking and saw Mimi Rogers.
I don't think we saw Mimi Rogers.
No, what was her name?
We saw Minnie Driver.
Minnie Driver? What did I say?
Mimi Rogers.
Minnie Driver. We're walking.
We saw Mimi Rogers.
Mimi Rogers. No, it was Minnie Driver. And then we both, you see that in New York a lot. You'll see a celebrity. Like today, I saw Pete Holmes. And you don't want to make a big deal. You're like, oh, it's Pete Holmes. That's cool.
The porn guy.
No, the crashing guy.
John Holmes.
John. I don't know. That's not a thing I know. Last night, I was sitting next to the one and only Debi Mazar on the F train.
Oh.
The Gumar in Goodfellas.
Oh, wow.
And also, the PR woman in Entourage.
Oh, yeah.
She's one of my favorites. I love her.
That's great.
A Queens native. Yeah, so I was sitting next to her, and I was really trying not to make it, but she exudes this energy.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wow, it's Debi Mazar. And when she got off, it just like trotted off the train with purpose. You know how she does? She strides.
Yeah.
So good. Anyway, so we walked past, not Mimi Rogers, Minnie Driver.
Minnie Driver.
And you and I just kind of gave each other a raised eyebrow. And then once we'd passed, I go, what's that? And you go, Action Bronson. You're seeing Action Bronson everywhere.
You can tell how famous someone is. There's two.
Yeah.
These are the 2 markers of how famous someone is.
Right.
Someone is properly famous if their mere presence makes it weird.
Yes, that's a good...
You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially in a daily situation, yeah.
Debi Mazar on the train.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
like, that's Debi Mazar on the train.
Sure.
The Pope on that same train.
What What train's the Pope taking?
There's only the Pope train. There's only like 10 people in the world at any given time that make it weird. Like Beyonce is one. Like
Beyonce train.
And you can then tell by the follow-up questions the shit you would put up with hearing in these stories. Because
is
if
Beyonce
you're
taking the JayZ?
well, if you're talking, there you go.
All right.
Well,
We're off to the races. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
taking the JayZ to ride the D. Oh! So, like, you will then accept follow-up questions that in any other situation would just infuriate you.
Yeah.
Like, I saw JayZ. I saw JayZ. JayZ's one.
Yeah.
That would be weird. If you saw JayZ anywhere,
man.
it's weird. If you saw him, like, at a coffee shop.
Yeah.
And then you go, the follow-up question, because you want to hear more.
Yeah.
You will accept like, what was he doing? Now, if you go, I saw Debi Mazar at the coffee shop. What was she doing? You go, what do you think she was doing at the coffee shop, you knucklehead? But
rehearsing lines.
if it was JayZ, you're like, he was getting coffee. I think like they'll then, and then you'll start to
What kind of
speculate.
coffee?
Yeah.
What
I
did he
think
get,
it was
espresso?
almond milk. Yeah.
Almond milk.
Yeah.
Ooh,
You
JayZ.
see? This is,
Yeah. Like there's a thing. People are fascinated with this
And,
crap.
and the other marker is if it's weird or or how short a story you will accept as a story.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, a friend of mine, his mum bumped into Jerry Seinfeld at a bank last
That's
week.
a story. That in
So to
itself,
me-
I accept that as story.
See, he drew this story out like it was the Odyssey.
Yeah.
This thing went forever. All
Yeah.
this huge preamble
Yeah,
about
yeah.
her son, and he writes for this newspaper. I'm like, get to the Jerry.
Yeah.
But there was this whole thing. He knocked her over as he was going into the bank. She had a bad foot. And he was so apologetic. He was with someone as well. He was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." I'm really abridging this story, by the way. And then he picked her and he goes, "Let me buy you lunch." He bought her lunch. They went to a diner. He bought her lunch. This is in the Upper East Side. And
This is more than this isn't a story. This is an episode,
isn't
it?
it? And then she's telling him all about her son, who's this journalist, this writer, but like very kind of humorous writer for a college newspaper sort of magazine thing. And then he wrote a note to her to give to him, and the note said, "Dear Brian, be a comedian, Jerry Seinfeld."
That's great.
What a note to get
That's
from Jerry
great.
Seinfeld.
That's
That's like
a
from the
great note.
Pope saying,
Yeah.
"You're in." Isn't that good?
Dear Brian, be a Catholic.
Yeah.
The Pope.
Oh, speaking of which, I had an idea for I don't know if it's a dumb joke. It is a dumb joke. I know that, or if there's something in this. The idea that a Catholic priest doing some pretty naughty things, is that a white collar crime? All right, no, but that's terrible.
That's a bit much. What about this though?
Okay.
What about in reaction to because Cardinal George Pell is an
Yes.
Australian who's the highest ranking after the Pope, the highest ranking Catholic has just been charged with historical sex crimes in Australia. And this is very very glib and I don't mean to make light of the crimes
course,
or
that goes without
of any
saying.
of this
Yeah.
systematic stuff, but is there something in this? The Catholic Church trialing shock collars?
That's fantastic.
Good luck drawing that.
No, I can't not draw that now. Thank you. That's always going to live in my psyche unless I get it out onto a page. Thank you. Let it be known. Check the show notes. There is going to be a drawing of a bunch of priests with shock collars. What about this? A priest up in the clouds of heaven talking to an angel who's a little bit confused. And the priest goes, "Oh, I knew a guy. I knew the door guy."
I've always liked
that
the
something
doorman,
Yeah.
St. Peter,
Yeah,
St. Peter,
yeah.
but not without a lady, like not without girls.
Yeah. Oh, what if it's like the gates of heaven, St. Peter with his little sort of lectern thing, with the book, and then the gates
Don't
are
say
there.
it as if it's real. Oh, St. Peter with his lectern.
because it's called a Pearly Gates cartoon in the cartooning parlance.
Right.
They say, say Prince died. Oh, I can't wait for all the Pearly Gates cartoons.
Sure.
It's just like it's a bit SS.
Yeah.
So if it's like a line, like a club, everyone trying to get in, and then someone like moving like a red rope,
The velvet rope.
robe, and you go, "Oh no, I know the door guy." It's like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm mates with. I know a guy in there. No, I know the owner." If it's like the Pope going, "I know the owner."
What if it's I'm friends with the owner's son,
I'm friends with the owner's son. That's great. Yeah, no, that's good.
or
I don't know,
someone
it's probably a bit tacky.
It's a
but
bit tacky.
Yeah.
Someone trying to get in wearing Crocs. Not in those shoes, mate.
Jesus is wearing sandals. And his mate's wearing Crocs. He's like, what are those?
Yeah.
They're so comfortable, though. Have you tried them?
Someone in heaven going, a lot of open-toed shoes.
First week in heaven. What are your thoughts? A lot of open toes.
Yeah. I don't know. Is it hygienic?
It's always the first week of summer in heaven, isn't it? By the way, just interesting. 1 year ago this week, I sold my first cartoon to the New Yorker. It came up
congratulations.
on my feed.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like Bob Mankoff's last day.
Oh, that's right.
We all went in. Every cartoonist from the New Yorker went in, and it was this giant day where everyone got to see him for like 30 seconds. And eventually, they ended up just throwing the batch in front of him and shaking his hand and saying goodbye. Then, he bought one from that batch. And I was talking to a guy called Shannon Wheeler, he's also a prolific New Yorker cartoonist. And he said, when I bumped into him in Portland later that year, he goes, oh, yeah, so you sold one to Bob on his last day. I'm like, yeah, finally got one in. And he goes, yeah, I feel like Bob bought a lot of cartoons that day. Like a final fuck you to the magazine. Like, I have a Chatfield.
Yeah. No, so I've got one here for you,
all right,
which
so
I
what do you
want to
got?
kind of. I don't know if it can work, and but I like the idea.
Yep.
Is there's two birds midair. Have you ever seen bald eagles, the symbol of America, fighting?
I have.
Midair, and it's just
Very recently,
brutal.
actually. It is savage.
Yeah, it's real savagery, right?
Yeah.
I want to have that kind of like a real National Geographic style kind of
Yeah.
like image like that.
Okay.
And a guy watching going, it's one or the other, you idiots.
What do you mean?
Fight or flight.
Oh, fight or flight.
And they're fighting in the air.
I feel like if they're eagles, I know that eagles.
It doesn't have to be eagles, but
some
any
kind of
old
raptor,
bird.
some kind of bird of prey, or
Yeah.
something that fights in the air. Right, fight or flight. What if it's okay, I get it. I always wondered. So there's the 7-second rule, and that's why cartoonists use cliches all the time. Because if you within 7 seconds, if you can't figure out the cartoon, you've lost. And 7 is very generous.
Yeah.
And so there's character types, there's cliches, and if you the choice specifically of the bird does matter, because then people get confused going, but it's the symbol of America. Is this a symbol of Americans being divided and fighting each other?
Oh,
and,
no, that's
you know what I mean?
too
Because then
smart
people
for
will
me,
read
yeah.
into the image and go, is the gag about America? Is it about... So you do have to consider those things.
Yeah.
And it's a tricky thing. So we'd have to just generic National Geographic
Just
birds of prey
Birds of prey just fighting.
You got to pick one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. And again, it's not spelling it out like it's SS, because you got to let them put together the riddle. of
Yeah.
What are they talking about? What's the
Yeah.
term? Fight or flight. That's good. I like that. Yeah.
Okay, this one is about. Did I tell you this? I was talking to Ashika about what we're going to have for dinner. It's
Yes.
7 o'clock in the morning. I was on the way out the door. I was like, what do you feel like? I said, and she goes, I wouldn't mind salmon. I said, I don't know about salmon. She goes, no, let's have salmon. We'll cook salmon. I get to
Yeah.
my office.
Yeah.
I open up my computer. I'm served ads on Facebook for salmon.
Wow.
I've never Googled salmon.
You
I've
don't
never
even have
looked
Facebook
up
on your
salmon.
phone
I don't
on
have
purpose for that
Facebook
reason.
Right?
Yeah.
Wild. So, and I think this is the thing people are talking about a lot, this
Yeah.
idea, right?
Yeah.
So what I was thinking, teacher, classroom, 30 kids,
Yeah.
like, Bart
Classic
Simpson's
classroom.
classic classroom look. Teacher scolding one of the children.
Yeah.
Well, if you were listening, why don't you come up here and target 3 advertisements to the class based on what I was saying?
That's very good.
It's a bit wordy.
No, but have you seen some of the captions lately? There's some very verbose jokes being printed.
I don't
want to,
I didn't think it was a bit much when I had to turn the page on one of the captions.
we just continued on page 106.
Wait, which one do we call Ishmael in this? I've forgotten.
I'm always very, very aware of it. There's some cartoonists who actually get very conscious of it, and their word economy is such that they've whittled it down to within an inch of its life because they've been told, don't be so wordy in your jokes. But sometimes that's the joke. Sometimes the joke is the verbosity of it. But it does seem like every now and then, if you have a wordy joke, you're like, we've got to whittle that down.
Yeah.
So with the joke itself, say it again. What was the caption again?
Well, if you were listening, why don't you come up here and target 3 advertisements to the class based on what I was saying?
See, I think that's okay. See,
It's okay. It's not that long. Like, it's less than 2 lines.
Yeah, well, the one that we had that was in the plane was, and at this time you may now turn on your electronic devices.
And we went
see
back
what
and
is said
forth
now.
on that a lot.
We did. In fact, it was pitched, I think, like as a new. Well, it was redone with a shorter version. The first time we pitched it was in a batch, and it had. The captain has now turned off the fasten seatbelt sign at this point.
That's right. It was very long, yeah.
Very long. So, and Emma said that's a bit too long. So we whittled it down, and it ended up getting in as a daily.
That's right.
So that does help sometimes. I actually think that's not that long. I really think that.
I don't. Maybe I'm a bit sensitive to it because I'm quite sensitive to that.
Because you're a comedian, you're used to whittling jokes.
Yeah,
down
and like making sure everything's in the right order and stuff like that.
I think the order of the words where they sit in a sentence counts for a lot. And I think if you can push targeted ads back as far as possible.
This is what I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
Is targeted ads the tag, or is it what I was saying? Which is which
to prove you were listening.
What's the subject of the joke? Is the subject the ads you get, or is it how they?
Yeah, if you were listening that intently, tell me tell me 3 targeted ads based on what I was saying.
Yeah, based on what it should end with, based on what I was saying.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with that. We'll probably tweak that.
We'll probably throw it around, but I like the premise is good. You and I did discuss a premise a few weeks back, I think, about trying to manipulate the ads that show up by like the girlfriend when he's in the bathroom. She's just saying
Gucci loafers, Gucci loafers.
Gucci loafers into her phone. Diamonds, Tiffany's, Gucci loafers, and then it just pops up on his phone. I feel like that's getting closer and closer to being able to be a thing. I think
that's pretty funny.
I thought it was really good.
I think
it's a good idea.
Funny. Yeah,
I like that. I like that very much. What else you got?
Okay. These ones I want you to kind of.
Yes.
It's one or the other.
Okay.
I don't know which. Satan going door to door.
Great.
Trying to sell knives or something.
Okay.
Probably not knives because it's a bit. It's Satan, so you'd think he'd kill someone.
Okay.
But trying to sell Amway or something.
Mm-hmm.
Not today, Satan. Or Satan trying to cut in line. Get behind me, Satan.
Not today, Satan. So I've seen the bumper stickers, T-shirts.
Not today, Satan. Yeah, like
Instagram.
Yeah.
Not today, Satan. Yeah, I mean, putting Satan into a cartoon, putting God or an angel or Satan into a cartoon is fantastic. These are the fantasy kind of settings that you can really play around with.
Satan doing something mundane to me is inherently funny.
Yeah, I agree. Like Hell's Waiting Room, like that.
Yeah,
that idea
like
that
even
there's
if
a waiting
it's
room.
Satan, like on a treadmill, like exercising demons, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, that's. I hope you threw that one out. Or
No.
You just got a glimpse into Scott's drafts folder.
Yeah, exactly. No, but just that kind of thing of like Satan at the gym, it's funny.
Yeah. Satan at the gym is funny because he's always ripped. Have you noticed that?
Satan's
always got great big.
Yeah, he does. He's always
shoulders.
very strong. Yeah.
He's never depicted as.
And
a
Jesus
fat
is like
old
in
guy.
the robes. Like,
Yeah, he's always covering up, isn't he?
Yeah.
Well, except when he's on the cross, abs.
Did he? He was in pretty good nick.
It didn't happen, Scott. It's a made-up story.
But still.
Yes, he was in good nick. I mean, as far as when he was, depicted as
like if Jared Leto was cast as Jesus, you go
when?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I actually wanted to punch up. So there's another parlance within common parlance with gag cartoonists called the desert crawler cartoon, which is the guy that is all bedraggled, crawling through the desert dunes in the hot sun. There's a trail behind him, and he's usually saying something. Like, oh, water.
Yeah.
And I had one which was like a sort of a yoga ponytail, just saying, coconut water.
I like that.
And then you were saying what would be great is if you actually said water, coconut water. So I'll repitch it with that. But I also think there's a lot of desert crawler cartoons that I think you can also modernize. I know it's a trope, but things like a millennial, like a real millennial-looking Brooklyn type, was sort of crawling through with his phone, just going likes. Likes.
That's pretty funny.
Some kind of equivalent, followers, or even bringing it right back to the Jesus thing. He was really only doing it for all the followers.
Yeah.
Right.
I have been kind of noodling around with that as an idea of
Yeah.
Jesus. Or
Because like Jesus going, no, I'm an influencer. I'm not employed.
Yeah.
Unemployed. I'm an
That's
influencer.
right. Jesus is an influencer. I think
Yeah.
that's where that came
I
from.
like the idea of Jesus as an influencer. We pitched it and it got knocked back, but I think we can re-execute that same idea.
Didn't you and I have a chat this week about the desert crawler?
Yes.
And the idea of water, coconut water,
Yeah.
Pinot Gris,
Right.
and some chips and guac for the table.
Yeah,
and it
chips
just
and
turns
guac for the
into
table.
a kind of a bigger...
Yeah, she's not just wanting the essentials of survival. She's really wanting and chips and guac for the table.
Yeah.
Slice of lime. So yeah, I thought initially I was sort of marinating on that idea about how going vodka cranberry. with a slice of lime.
Closure on Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah. Actually, the first one that I wrote after I saw Infinity War this week was spoilers.
Oh yeah,
Everyone was digging around for like extra spoilers and stuff like that.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
there's
yeah.
so much that happens.
Oh yeah, I haven't
And-
seen it, and I've had to
Okay.
pretend to be like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
Well, I did a cartoon for Mad Magazine this week, which they had a writer who wrote this gag, and they paired me with him to make this thing.
Right.
And it was Thanos.
Suppose it's easier than adding me to the system. That's
Nudge, nudge, mad. Jeez. Anyway, so he sent this idea in, and then it was art directed and within an inch of its life. But I think it turned out okay. And it was,
I thought it looked really good.
but I hadn't seen the film yet, so I didn't know.
See, I
didn't get
hadn't
it.
seen it, and I understood it. I thought it was a good joke.
Well, I didn't know about the 50% of the population thing, and I'm horribly sorry if you haven't seen it by now. This isn't really a spoiler. I guess it's just a plot point of the whole film. Is that Thanos, once he gets all the Infinity Stones, he can click his fingers and half of the universe disappears.
Amazing.
Half the people in the universe disappears. That's the premise of the film.
Why does he want to do that?
For sustainability. It's like population control.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the world will just fall into chaos and everything will disappear anyway. And everyone, 100% of the people will die because all the resources will be taken up. So he's standing there and he's got like Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, and Iron Man fighting him in New York City. And he's going, the universe's resources are finite. I need to cleanse the world of 50% of the population to make it sustainable. And then Iron Man's going, you monster! And then this New Yorker guy kind of comes and goes, wait a minute, Tony, let's hear him out. And
I think it's a good joke.
Tony's going, huh? And then he's like, yeah, really? Thanos is like, this is usually where everyone tries to kill me. I mean, and then he goes, been a tough couple of years. Let's hear him out. What does he say? He says, no, been a tough couple of years. Keep talking.
That's a good joke.
I went to see it on our anniversary. Sophie and I had our anniversary, and I thought, what should we do?
You
What's
old
romantic? 5 years. Oh, I think 5 years is Infinity War.
It's Infinity War.
Yeah, and so afterwards, at the end of the film, she goes...
At the end of our relationship.
Yeah, at the end of our marriage, she goes, you know what? I'm with him. Let's go get some dinner. She's all about it. That whole kind of idea of the spoilers. Oh, spoilers. Like everyone was just talking about spoilers all week with Infinity War. Spoilers. Also, I had the idea of this one is definitely a spoiler, and you know what? It's to the point where I'm not even gonna. You know what? If you haven't seen it, it's not a spoiler. That doesn't make any sense at all. That doesn't make
think you know
any
what
sense.
spoilers are.
There's a meme going around. It's an existing meme,
Right.
and it's a sandcastle blowing away in the wind, and a kid shaking his fist at the sky, going, "Damn you, Thanos!"
Oh.
It's anyway.
So he
anyone
won.
who's seen the film will get the joke.
Right.
Anyone who hasn't, it's not a spoiler.
This is very silly.
Okay,
Very, very silly.
excellent.
But I think it's funny.
That's-
I think
that's
this
my
is
jam.
I
Have
think
you
this
met
is
me?
really funny.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know how it's presented, but when animals attack will be followed by when animals apologize.
That's great. That's very
so
funny.
stupid?
No, I love that. As a channeler coming up next.
Yeah, coming up next.
Coming up
Animals
next,
attack
after
will
when
be-
animals attack, animals apologize. I love that. That's not, well, it's silly, but
It's very silly.
I like
but I
that.
saw it on TV. It's back,
Yeah.
that show.
Oh, when animals
Yeah.
attack.
Yeah, it was like 20 animals that will attack. 20 animals that will kill you.
Sounds like a BuzzFeed.
Yeah. But I wanted it to be, the original thing was like 20 animals that will kill you.
Yeah.
But I thought like 20 animals that would like you if you got to know them. Like, you'd love it.
20 animals that kill on stage. Right. All right.
So what do you got?
All right. So I've got a bunch this week. And look, I've kind of arrived at a point with them where I think there's something there. But then I want to kind of go back to formula with you and see if we can, kind of reverse engineer them and see if there's something else in there. So 2 people on a desert island, the old desert island cartoon. One's holding an empty bottle in his hand and reading a note that he's pulled out saying, "It's the IRS. I'm being audited." Like, they'll always find you. They'll always find you. Doesn't matter. You can't escape them. Death and taxes.
I don't mind that.
So, go back. Because every desert island cartoon, we discussed one that Ellis did. Ellis Rosen is giving a mention every episode, it seems, where it was a sign that said, "At your advert." Your ad here. And he's on the phone, which he could have used to just call for help, but he's called them to buy the billboard saying, "That's help with an H."
Yeah, that's funny.
There's so many silly... By now, the Desert Island cartoon is its own trope and joke.
Yeah.
So if you're using it as something silly, I like the idea that it's 2 people on a desert island going, you wouldn't believe it. It's the IRS, I'm being audited.
Do you know what? Instead of the IRS, is there something that everyone gets sent a lot? But do you know what mine is? Sweepstakes. Yeah. Mine is Capital One.
Oh, yeah, me too. A credit card.
A credit card every...
It's a credit card application.
That's
great. That's what I was hoping we'd get to. Yeah, something like that.
Well...
What do we always get that's like...
The bad news is it's not help, but the good news is I'm pre-approved for
a 5.9%.
5.9%.
That's good. Yeah, something like that. Something specific that everyone gets. Capital One is the worst
Capital One is shocking.
because it's weekly.
Have you tried to call out to get out? And it is impossible to...
it doesn't abide.
Yeah.
Everywhere else. So I'm on the do not call list. I'm on the do not mail list. I'm on the ad for whatever list. And I still get robocalls. I still get Capital One.
Yeah.
And it also
Do you get the Chinese robocalls?
Yes. Have you been getting those lately?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
There was a headline today that said, "It's not just you, the robocalls are increasing." And I thought, oh, that's a terrifying headline.
Yeah.
Everyone's getting these?
Good.
And then I block them, and it's like a hydra. There's like 3 more pop up. And I can't, and I think, I don't recognize this number. And then it's, "Jing bang bang bang."
Yeah.
All right, that's racist. But that's what it is. It's just, and they're mid-sentence too. So I'm like, I can't even decipher. Sophie speaks Mandarin. I don't even know what they're saying. It's terrifying. I wonder if there's something in robocalls then. Like, that's the only, friend some people have.
That's pretty funny.
That's the only calls people pick up anymore, are robocalls. Because everyone texts now. No one calls each other. The only time someone picks up a phone...
If I see someone on the phone, I'm like, something terrible has happened.
That's what I mean. I only get a call from my family if I've got to fly home for a funeral. Or your father's had another bloody stroke. You wouldn't believe it. It's something like that.
It's literally a phone call you received.
Yeah. No, I got that one at 3 a.m. Actually, she was kind of giggling when she did that.
That's right.
Your father's had a stroke.
Great relationship, your mother and father.
She hates
Good
my dad.
friends.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
Something like that. Or the other thing when you first said it that jumped into mind, and I don't know how it works, is something about... let's not respond till we get the terms and conditions bottle.
Right. Oh, what if there's one bottle that's the message
or whatever it is.
And then the second one's the terms and conditions, but it's like a scroll.
Yeah.
It's like a long scroll.
I don't know. I think this might be a bit hacky. I think you had the first...
there's something in the idea that the tax department will always find you. The IRS will, doesn't matter where you are, even if you're on a desert island.
The other one that never... you know what the big American thing is? Mm-hmm. Is the Alumni Association asking for money.
Oh, or MoMA.
Yeah.
Or like oh my God, you know who's insane? Lincoln Center. They're the New York Philharmonic. I went to one thing last year.
Yeah.
No, 2 years ago. Every week I get a New York Philharmonic in my mail. I've called, I've emailed, they phone me twice a week asking for money. And I'm like, guys, I don't want to be rude, but I've asked 6 times to be taken off your list. And then I get really shirty with them. So it's not fun.
I get
the worst.
I get 3 emails a week from someone from the Trump campaign
really?
from Trump from Donald Trump.
Because you go to the rallies.
Because I'd go to the rallies and I signed up. I signed up for both, but I signed up.
For listeners, Scott is not a Trump supporter. Just in case you were wondering, why he goes to report from the front lines.
I'm draining the swamp. But there are always these really goofy Scott, you're my advisor, kind of stuff, and
boy,
and it's very funny seeing him talking about how successful he is at business.
Yeah.
And then once he was on television talking about, I mean, no one does a deal like me. I mean, I'm the richest president there's ever been. And he was really bragging about, and then literally I got like this email, this group email, where he was asking for as little as $1.
As little as $1. Bernie Sanders over here. That's amazing. I'm the richest president ever. Do you have $1?
And these weird things, like I've got one, Scott, because you've been such a strong supporter, the official Trump store is offering you 25% off before midnight.
Before midnight?
While you can use the coupon code MOMS for Trump,
Brilliant,
for number 4,
yep.
For anything in the store, we've put together a list of items we think would make great gifts for Mother's Day.
Make Mother's Day great again. That's great, isn't it? You know
I
what
might
I like
get
to do
Mum
with
a
those?
women for Trump.
Yeah, get one. Get a mugger hat for Mum.
Yeah.
Mum.
Water bottle. There's a pink water bottle surrounded by
Perfect.
tulips.
Why? But how is that Trump related?
Well, it's just how they raise money.
Of course it is. You know what I like to do with those lists when I sign up to the mailing list for anyone? I just put either someone else's email address in, or because they make you sign up in order to get something. I put in for first name, I just put dickhead, so that I know where they're using a fake name. They just dropped it in. They're like, I've got a deal for you, dickhead.
Yeah.
And so you see where
It's
they've
like having a conversation with Tommy Dassler.
Have I got a deal for you, dickhead? Brilliant. Okay, so that's my desert island.
Now,
I want to try and build on an idea of, some of the most beautiful photographs I think I've ever seen is the...
to go back to that. So he's opening up the bottle. He's with a partner.
He's got someone else there with a beard, a fellow, castaway. Maybe a crashed plane or a ship.
I think it's like he's opening as... No... It's Harvard again. They want,
Right, it's something again. Like there's other bottles nearby.
It's a huge pile of bottles, maybe.
Capital One again.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. It's just a huge pile of bottles.
Yeah.
Maybe he's alone. It's just him
Maybe
alone
it's
on an
not,
island.
I think
a whole bunch of bottles.
I'm trying to think. The MoMA is probably closer, or the one that every American talks about is their college getting in touch with them to ask for money.
But I like the idea that the New Yorker would probably side with, because the New York Philharmonic advertise in the New Yorker as well. So there's that. So maybe if we make fun of them, I mean, we can do a cartoon about it, but they're probably not going to buy it because it's like, that's one of our sponsors. And they have said in the past there are certain sponsors that are like, oh, we'd love to run it, but they're giving us lots of money. So that is an editorial thing, I guess. Even though, so Capital One I think is funny because banks are always crooks. Banks are always like, oh, it's another credit card application, or it's Capital One again.
Yeah. Oh, we're still pre-approved.
Still pre-approved. The idea that he's talking to the other person, like, good news or bad news.
Yeah. I think there's something there. Yeah, that's something there, definitely.
Let's try something there.
Yeah.
All right. I can live draw that one. Okay. It's someone in prison. Okay, it's a millennial in prison, or Trump in prison.
Yeah,
hopefully. You get one phone call or a tweet. Or, the idea that no one knows anyone's phone number anymore, so it's one phone call or a text or a DM. You get one DM.
Yeah, what about if they're like...
I want my one DM.
Yeah. Or can I text? Like they're going, can't I just text?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah. Phone call. Can I just text?
Yeah.
Right. When someone's in like the lockup and they get their one phone call and they're in the not in the jumpsuit, but they're like cuffed. And the detective there's a phone on the wall and then, or they don't know how to use it. They're like, what is that?
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
Wait, what is that? You get one phone call.
What's a phone call?
That's great. That's the joke. That's the joke. It's a millennial going, wait, what's a phone call?
What's a phone call? That's the joke. That's so dumb.
That's great. I love that. That's fantastic. I would.
Oh, now speaking of, remember we were talking last week about the prison for social faux pas and whatever?
Yeah.
I've got the what are you in for, essentially.
Yeah.
I called it Handmaiden's Tale.
Brilliant. Okay. I feel like this is a repeating list of
things
in social infractions we can keep adding
because
to.
the first one was I called it Downtown Abbey, but I don't think anyone. But
Yeah, okay. There are a lot of Handmaid's Tale gags I know being thrown around.
Is one of
that's
them
a pretty good one.
Yeah. Is one of them about Elizabeth Moss, the actor who's in it, who
Peggy from Mad Men.
who was like, this is happening in real life. Wake up, people.
Sheeple.
Yeah. She's a Scientologist.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like
No.
Yeah. Keep your head under the.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I love that. That was my favorite.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Elizabeth Moss is a Scientologist.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's hilarious. That's a joke in itself.
I know.
You don't even have to write that.
No.
That's
real
just,
Michelle
That's just life being awful.
Palin kind of.
That's amazing.
Name a newspaper.
Brilliant. Is there something in this? Okay, so it's a New Yorker at like a hot dog stand at Central Park. And I know that there was already one recently. I think Zachary Kanan did one with shaved ice.
Oh, shaved
And he
mice?
he put an M in front of it saying, "We ran out of ice."
That was funny.
She's holding up a shaved mouse.
Oh, I kicked a rat the other day.
You kicked a rat?
Walking along. It felt all
it's
squishy.
getting
and,
warm again.
Yeah, and
that's how you know.
Yeah, it was
First rat of the season. First rat kick of the season.
That's pretty funny.
Something because that's Sophie chases after them sometimes. She's got issues, but she's very excited when she sees the rats come out because it means it's getting warm because they're out of hibernation. They don't really
Do
come
they
out
hibernate?
Well, they stay.
They stay in the
They don't tend to
subways.
run across the sidewalk in the colder months. So when she starts seeing them run around the bins, she's like, "Oh, it's spring! It's the first rat of spring."
That's pretty
The rats
funny.
of spring, as in the rights of spring.
Yeah,
the rats of spring.
Let's circle back
First
to that.
rat.
Yeah.
First
rat
rat
of the
of spring. That's
season.
not bad. Yeah, first rat skip of spring.
Yeah.
Something. I mean, we may be too late for it, but there could be something there. Maybe it's a daily.
Yeah.
First rats, rat jump, rat run, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. I'll have a think. Yeah. That's.
So, is there anything in this hot dog stand or something similarly small, but very like New Yorkery? Fat guy comes up to the hot dog stand, tries to pay by card, and just goes, "Keep it open."
Oh, that's so funny.
Is that good?
Yeah.
I just like the idea.
Yeah.
That he's clearly going to have a bunch.
Yeah. That's
But he's
great.
just like, you know what, keep it up. Because I love keep it open as a punchline to a cartoon. So him going up to anything and saying keep it open is great. Because I don't know, I don't remember in Australia going to bars
Never.
and opening a tab.
No, you just
like
don't do that.
and going keep it open.
No.
It's very much an American
It's just an
thing.
American thing, yeah.
And I like it because it's less work in my brain. I just go, you know what? Yeah, just keep it open. I'll probably have another beer. But it can certainly lead to a lot of drinks. But then, I just love the idea of it applying to something.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a hot dog
That's great,
stand
yeah.
yeah.
And the guy,
The guy who's behind the stand is just
just terrified.
wide-eyed and going, "Oh my god!" Or I don't know if he's happy or if he's terrified because he's like, "Oh my god, I'm going to run out of hot dogs."
That's so great. I think that's great. Yeah, that's done. That's
All
done.
right.
Yeah.
Also, back to our gates of heaven, I wonder if there's a sign saying like no soliciting or no junk mail or no vaping.
Yeah.
Like there's someone's devastated. They've arrived at the gates of heaven and they're going, no vaping? What? Like they're annoyed.
What about this? No outside food.
That's great.
Like that's such a
That's fantastic. No outside
welcome
food.
to heaven. No outside food.
That's great.
It's such a Simpsons joke, isn't it? Like it's such a Simpsons kind of idea. That
Yeah, when they set up a scene and
Yeah.
they set the setting, they'll always have a little, like
little
Mad Magazine, they'll have
joke.
like a little
Yeah,
joke.
just a little mad,
I
yeah.
went to Krusty Land at Universal Studios in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
And they have all of these things with rides, but they've got like signage with like gags and stuff on them.
that's good.
Hot dogs, dozens sold.
That's great.
Over dozens sold. They have like the shooting the cans. Be made to look a fool by a bunch of cans.
That's
like all
great.
these little signs with like Simpsons-esque. They've got riders to come in and like just punch up the park. Basically, it's fantastic.
That would be a fun job.
It's totally,
punching up a
totally.
park.
Punching up the park. Here's another one. Now, we did already pitch this as a joke with the homeless guy on the sidewalk in Brooklyn and the Brooklynite sort of going to I think it was a Lorimer stop or something, leaning and going, do you accept Bitcoin?
Oh, the Bitcoin joke.
Now,
yeah.
someone else, another comedian this week got in touch with a suggestion and she was like, is there something in this? It's a guy shaking a cup on the subway, but attached to the cup is a little square reader, now accepting Square payments, or now accepting Apple Pay or Android Pay or something like that. Something in a homeless guy now accepting Square payments or Apple Pay. Because Apple Pay is popping up a lot more lately everywhere, now accepting Apple Pay. Like every little service now seems to be, because it's easy to set up, basically. It's like Square. You just sign up for Square and then you can take Square payments. Is there something in that, like rattling a cup with a little Square reader on it?
Yeah.
It's very Square specific, though.
It's a bit Square specific.
Is it a bit SS? I don't know.
It's not. I don't know if
'Cause
it's
I kind of
SS.
felt-
It's just like.
Yeah.
Is it a bit mean-spirited even?
Mate, well, I always think, and I know you and I talk about this, but you don't want to make fun of, you don't want to punch down, you don't want to make fun of the homeless, and you don't want to make fun of like Flint residents about their drinking water.
No.
You don't want to make jokes at the expense of the homeless, but if they're enterprising, and there's actually like, it's almost making fun of the hipsters who are like, sorry man, I don't have any money. Because everyone when there's beggars, less and less people carry money now because they all carry plastic or like use Apple Pay. So I was like, sorry, man, I don't have any coins. It was like, yeah, well, I accept Apple Pay. That's cool. What do you got?
Yeah,
But
or Venmo.
Venmo, well, I think I initially pitched it as, what's your Venmo?
What's your Venmo, yeah.
Actually, that was the idea of like a hipstery, and I hate using hipster, but you got to use stereotypes to get there quickly, is in the courtroom and the judge has just handed down the sentence, and then the caption is, okay, cool, what's your Venmo? Because that's a thing. People say, "What's your Venmo?" Because he's been sentenced with like there's some kind of monetary punishment. 20 hours of community service and $500,000. Okay, cool. What's your Venmo?
That's
like,
great.
As if it goes directly to the judge.
Yeah.
Or the federal.
I like that. I think that's really
There's
funny.
something there.
Yeah.
Back to the pearly gates. And I know we keep coming back and bouncing around and dancing around the pearly gates because I've never done a pearly gates cartoon myself.
Right.
I always found it a little bit hack when I was doing editorial cartoons. When anyone died, I would refrain from doing one. I'd always try and find something else, even if it was symbolic and maybe a little bit SS, not to do a pearly gates cartoon.
They're so saccharine. Like,
I know, and they're so like,
hey, welcome to heaven, and like,
and all it is
heaven's
the-
got a new quarterback. Like,
Right.
heaven's football team's complete. And
yeah, there's a football flying over the gates of heaven,
Yeah,
or like
yeah,
a
yeah.
cricket ball. Or
Yeah.
And what that is that's the editor fending off any complaints from readers about being insensitive about the death.
What was the
let
one-
the body's still warm. Don't make
what
jokes
was
about
the one
it.
of the guy like and all the dead children? Like, hey, Mr. Johnson, there's so many people I want you to meet, and it was to
jeez.
represent the victims of
Was
school
it
shootings.
Dr. Death or something?
No, it was the school shooting thing.
Oh wow, jeez, that's rough.
Oh yeah, it was like
mean-
it was so.
It's very right wing. Well, I mean, in tone, not in
Oh, in
subject.
tone, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Not the actual subject, but I mean, they very, very heavy-handedly, like they'll label things, and they'll
My
be
favorite kind of
I
cartoon.
know, the epitome of SS.
Yeah.
You know what? This isn't making fun of homeless people. This is a very hopeful one.
Sure.
That's a good preface for a
Yeah,
for
here
a
we
joke.
go. I'm
Here it is.
all ears.
Okay, and maybe we can punch this one up a bit. Homeless guy talking to another homeless guy holding out a cup, and they're outside an arcade or like a slot machine casino.
Yeah.
And he's talking to his fellow homeless guy, and he goes, "I'm telling you, Harry, change is inevitable."
That's not bad, actually.
Because it's kind of hopeful. It's not making fun, but of course, it's outside an arcade.
yeah.
Like a penny arcade or like a casino with like slot machines with all the coins. Somewhere where someone's going to walk out with change, like a Dunkin' Donuts or something.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Harry, change is inevitable.
What's the other one? This is better than a vacation. How? Change is as good as a holiday.
Oh, change is as good as a holiday.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's not bad. I didn't even think of that one. Of course, change is... What's another change? Yeah, because I heard change is inevitable. And I thought, imagine a homeless guy saying that to the guy next to him.
Change is inevitable.
Harry.
Yeah.
You know, what was that film? Was it Big or something like that? Where he drops a whole pile of money to to a couple of homeless guys. He goes, Randolph, we're rich again.
Trading Places.
Was it Trading Places?
Yeah, wasn't the
Something
thing
like
where
that.
Eddie
don't know,
Murphy.
It was like Big or Trading Places or something where he just had a bunch of money. He was like, I don't care, and he throws it in.
Oh yeah,
I just love Randolph.
Yeah,
We're
Randolph
rich
said-
again, which means there's a backstory where they went bankrupt from a big business and their business partners.
I'm just reticent to homeless thing.
Me too. I'm always. It's always a bit of a red flag for me. But I thought if I can make it fun or like positive in a way where they're gonna get an opportunity. It's a little different than making fun of them being homeless.
No. I don't think you're making fun of. I just get a bit.
Right. Here's one. Casino.
Yeah.
Croupier.
Yeah.
Bunch of people around, but she's like a millennial, like, oh my God. And she goes, I can't even deal. She's like got that look on her face.
Yeah, why? That is such a.
What is a celebrity has just sat down and she goes, I can't even deal.
No, I think it's just.
She's just
terrible at her job.
Yeah. Like so the cards are all over the place.
Yeah. It's just.
I can't even deal. And the contrast would be there'd be two other tables nearby that are like flawless kind of.
Yeah. That's really funny.
All
That's
right.
it. That's a good like. That's it. Like, why did the millennial lose the job at the casino?
She couldn't even
Yeah,
deal.
she couldn't even deal.
Yeah, right. Also, the idea of it. Sorry, I'm throwing a lot at you.
No, I like
week.
it. This
Okay.
is I thoroughly enjoy this.
Okay. Here's one: a skeleton watching a clock at an office desk, and picture George Costanza doing the Penske
Doing
file.
the Penske file, yeah.
Just staring at but it's a skeleton, like, and there's maybe cobwebs, and it's just staring at the clock. And there's a couple of guys who have just come in, and they go, by the time we discovered his clock was broken, it was too late.
Oh, I like that.
Or it turns out his clock was broken. Like he was just waiting for it to get, but he just kept staring at the clock.
Yeah.
And it's like it needed new batteries. Oh, it turns out we needed to replace the clock batteries, or the clock needed new batteries, or something like that.
Yeah.
How do you
or like
get to that quickly? How do you?
Yeah, if only his clock had broken during Summer Friday. So like something.
Oh yeah, but he's wearing a suit and tie at his desk. And he's got the Penske file. He's got like an accordion-style folder.
Yeah.
But he's staring at the clock on the wall. There's no windows.
No,
so
it is literally
evidence.
Costanza's office.
That's
in the
why
Penske.
it needs to be a windowless office.
Yeah.
So there's no evidence of time outside of that clock. One of my favorite, I think you've seen it, one of my favorite Jack Marco cartoons is the guy staring at the door that says manager. Or manager.
Oh, yeah.
And then and it's backwards.
That's right.
It's forwards. And then you can see a thought cloud of him dreaming of him sitting
doing
and
the
seeing
exact same
manager
thing.
backwards on the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is just, it's so sad. Yeah.
Is there something even more like romantic in he watched the clock, but who watched him? Kind of like, someone almost eulogizing you.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's a different cartoon.
Yeah.
I just like the idea of like cobwebs like coming off he's literally just staring at the clock and they just never checked on him. No one checked on him.
So
and
grim.
if it's a skeleton, like it's been decades.
It's smelt.
Yeah.
It's decomposed.
Yeah, but it's been so long.
Anything organic has now disappeared.
And there's even like maybe an air conditioning vent, just so that it's not just to really, because people do fact check cartoons. That there's a department at the New Yorker that fact check cartoons, and they're the same as the ones who fact check.
What about like they say his clock broke when Kennedy was shot or something as a reference point as to how long ago it was.
His clock's been broken since Obama was in.
Well, it'd be longer than that.
Right, skeleton. Yeah. Right. His clock broke. His clock broke
before. Yeah, his clock broke before Armstrong landed on the moon.
Oh, it turns out or they've discovered it. One of them's realized, and the other one's sort of looking at him, going, "What? What happened to?" He's like, "Oh yeah, it turns out his clock broke 25 years ago."
It turns out his clock broke 25 years, but there's no it's not really like.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Clock broke needs to be at the end of the sentence, I think. Or his clock needed new batteries. No one replaced his clock batteries. Yeah, but again, that's getting too tied up. These are the agonies that gag writers.
It is a good idea, though. I think.
Right.
Hey, do we have any?
We have some suggestions. Yeah, look, I've got more, but we'll deal with them next week because there's plenty. Can I run one more?
Yeah,
past
of course.
you?
Yeah.
Okay. It's the idea, and it's a little bit inside baseball with comedians, but I like the idea of it's becoming more of a thing, particularly now with the abundance of comedy rooms in New York City.
Yeah.
Is the idea of a comedian's funeral. It's a 2-drink minimum. A comedian's wake. 2-drink minimum.
Oh, I like that.
Or it's like a bringer funeral. It's 10 friends and a 2-drink minimum. It's like an open mic comedian's funeral. It's a bringer.
Or someone, and we remind anyone eulogizing,
Yeah.
there'll be a light at 4 minutes, and
That's
we'll
not
cut the
bad.
mic at 5.
Cut the mic at 5. That's something like that. But again, that's so inside baseball. But still, there's
People get that.
People
Everyone's
get the
been to an
references.
open mic. Everyone's seen that
unfortunately.
now, yeah.
And Will McPhail had that great chicken crossing the road go, if you guys don't mind, I'd like to try some of my new
Some
stuff.
of my new gear,
I
yeah.
love that.
That was a good joke.
And that is that's something you hear comedians say on stage sometimes. But the open mic thing is like an extra level now that shows like crashing and I'm dying up here. People kind of starting to know the vernacular of comedians.
Yeah.
Like killing, bombing, dying, all that stuff. I'm dying up here. People tend to know, oh, that means doing badly.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he really died on stage. And that's why there's a funeral. That's a bit hack to me. Like the idea that he actually died on stage.
Yeah, no.
That's too far in the other
But
way.
I really like the idea of it being
Like a
cheap.
bringer.
About that?
What about a think tank open mic? 2 think minimum. Okay, let's move on.
Think tanks are inherently funny.
I agree. Yeah, Seinfeld bit that he was trying to work out.
That's right.
What
a
are you
comedian.
thinking?
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't think you think at all.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
very Seinfeld,
Yeah.
repeating the premise over and over again. All right, so suggestions this week, and thank you for sending them in. Please always send them in to me, not to Scott, because he will not.
I'm not going to see them. I'm sorry about that. Watto Creative, who I've forgotten, was so rapt that we put his idea in the batch, and he wrote us nice messages on Instagram. I check Instagram maybe. So
Right.
just so you know, I don't have Instagram on my phone.
Right.
My girlfriend does it for me. So I just send her a picture and a caption,
Right.
and she's just got my account. So if you send me a message and I don't get back to you, that's why.
Okay,
Or if
nice.
if you send me a message
Yep.
and something horrible is written,
Yes.
it might just be my girlfriend dicking around.
I like that idea. That's great. So we have one that one earlier with the square reader on the cup. That was from Glennis LaRoe. She sent that in.
Yeah.
And because I'd already done the Bitcoin one, she sent it to me. I was like, I hate to tell you.
Yeah,
I've already
yeah.
gone down this track, and there seems to be nothing there yet.
It is a nice idea, the modernizing of
begging.
begging.
Because it's like having a donate button on your website or your Twitter, like not a donate button, but like I think it's a donate
What
button.
if instead of a square reader, it's an Amazon wish list? You know how right.
Kind of
it's generally kind of sex workers have Amazon
wish list, rather than paying directly for services rendered. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, there's something there. Let's bookmark that.
Yeah, maybe that's something.
So today's suggestion comes from, again, he's cheating on the test. It's the editorial cartoonist for the Mercury in Tasmania.
We're getting a lot of yeah.
Big fan of the show.
Wasn't the last one from?
So here's the suggestion. Okay, so it says, ooh, with an exclamation mark. What if you have a cartoon of a prince at the bottom of Rapunzel's tower looking up at her, exhausted, and saying, I'm sorry, your hair's just too greasy.
What if it's your idea?
Yeah.
And it's the seamless guy.
Oh,
and that's how
she lets her hair down.
She lets her hair down to get the pizza.
We finally found a way to use the seamless guy.
Yeah.
Rapunzel.
It's Rapunzel.
She sends a tip down in her hair.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the greasy thing, that's a funny image, but that's a bit goofy. That's more mad, I think, than New Yorker maybe.
Yeah.
And also saying greasy instead of showing greasy is a thing. Saying and showing in a cartoon, if you've got the ability to show. But saying it's greasy or split ends, some hair terminology, split ends, or is that your real color, or it's too greasy. You didn't shampoo today, something like that.
Yeah, I do, but I do like the idea of that being
the
only way up.
Yeah. The only way up is the hair. She's like, come on up.
Yeah. And he's like, are you it's the seamless. The delivery guy's like, are you sure you can't come down?
Yeah. We've gone on. We've rambled on.
I like delivery for Rapunzel.
Yeah. Delivery. Maybe it's seamless delivery for a.
But is it one too many steps? Because we were talking about the idea of a delivery to a palace.
Well, no, it's a tower. It's a big long tower, so it's a vertical cartoon. There's an old Misha Richter cartoon of a castle with a big wall around it on the top of a giant mountain, and the term is, "Yes, honey, we're impregnable, but are we happy?"
Yeah, that's funny.
All right, I'll give it a bash. Thanks for that,
I
Chris.
think that's funny,
Christopher
Chris.
Downs, that
I
was
mean,
from.
it's not exactly your idea now.
No, that's what we do. We take your idea and steal it.
We don't steal it.
No, we improve it or we change it. It's a good premise. It's almost like giving us a setup and then we have to write a punchline.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So it's like it's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you for
We
sending
should
it
just
in.
call this segment "See You in Court."
The defense rests.
That's it for
All right.
us.
Thank you for listening. Rate
Where are
and
you?
review us on
What are
iTunes.
you doing? You're doing some gigs?
Yeah, I'm hosting a bunch of shows this week, actually. So check out JasonChatfieldComedy.com for my dates. Come by, say g'day, and 2 drink minimum.
Yeah. Is it?
No. Well, they're comedy clubs, so they usually
Yeah,
are.
they
So
are.
yes, it's 2 drink minimum.
I think I'm going to start doing stand-up this week.
That pleases me
Yeah, I've
immensely.
got jokes.
Great.
I got a couple of jokes.
Unfortunately, there's no cartoon meeting this week, so we'll be pitching in the dark once more.
Oh yeah.
So we'll only know by Friday if any of them even made the maybe pile.
Oh, and also, can you tell us via email or what's the best way to conduct this poll? Is if we were to do a live show, would you come?
Yeah. Well, hit me up.
Talk. Yeah.
Email, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever. JasonChatfieldComedy@gmail.com. Let us know if you'd be keen to see us live and do this live. And what we would probably do is draw live. As we're explaining the cartoons, we'll have them up and I'll draw them as we're coming up.
Yeah.
And we'll have some guest sort of drop-ins and
Potentially,
maybe have some suggestions from the audience,
Oh.
from you, the audience. Maybe.
That's never backfired in the history of
No.
comedy. Yeah.
Hey, please heckle.
What about this? It's just a swastika, and then the caption says "thumbs up." Sir, what are you doing here?
Is there something in this? Your mum.
That's actually quite funny.
Which is remarkable at this point in the show.
All right,
Thank you
we'll
for
see
listening.
you next week.